Hello, my name is Randy Banks. I'm President and General Manager here at Mountain Air Country Club, and I'm with my good friend and Mountain Air property owner, Ken Durkee.
Well, hey, Randy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Ken?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks. And it is such a gorgeous day. Gosh, it's beautiful up here. You know, I thought I'd go out and take a look at the property from the air. Would you like to ride with me as I fly around?
Absolutely. I'd love to go.
Well, great. Let's go do that.
As we begin to leave the warm-up area, be sure that you call the pro shop ahead of time at 122.725 and let them know that you'll be back taxiing. Also, check to your left to be sure that there's no one rolling out on the runway as you taxi out onto it. From time to time, people land without calling us. As you taxi down the runway, you can look and see the windsock off to the right. It will show that we have a slight tailwind, but that's all right. We're going to be taking off downhill. Double check your oil temperature to be sure that it's in the green. At this altitude, it takes a little longer for the oil to warm up, and you want to be sure that you have good oil temperature before you accelerate for takeoff. Now we're lining up for centerline. Also, as you taxi for takeoff, you'll look up to your right and you'll see that there may be people looking over the rail at the clubhouse and also over the fence at the pool. Don't let that distract you on your takeoff.
Now I begin to lean the aircraft back just a little bit to get maximum power on takeoff roll. There we go. Gosh, this is exciting. Look at the mountain begin to move past us as we go down the runway. You notice the runway is completely clear on both sides and there are no obstructions. There's also runway remaining markers on the right-hand side, and you'll be able to see what your actual takeoff roll will be. Remember to compute your density altitude before you take off at the runway, to be sure you'll know what your roll will be. They begin to accelerate as we go downhill, and we're approaching flying speed. There we go. Now we'll rotate, and we're airborne. I leave the gear down till I'm certain I cannot land on the runway, and now I'll begin to raise the gear. Gear's coming up. Boy, it's beautiful out here. Look at this. You notice there's no approach in to the runway. Once you clear the runway, boy, the mountain just falls away underneath you. It's quite dramatic. Well, we'll begin a gentle left-hand turn here in just a moment and fly back out over the development. It's a beautiful day today. You can see over 60 miles. Mount Mitchell is off to our right. Now we're turning back to the north over the town of Burnsville. Off to my right, you can see Spruce Pine, North Carolina. There's the town of Burnsville coming up under my wings. And I'll keep the turn in here and we'll come back up over the development. We're crossing over the runway now, and right below us is the 7th fairway. And we'll climb up over the forest homes. I'm going to go out to the west a little bit and then come back in and show you how to set up for the pattern. The pattern altitude is at 5,500 feet. And we try to make all the normal standard radio calls, not only approaching the development, but while we're in the pattern.
Now we'll be coming in from the west. Remember, pattern altitude is 5,500 feet. There are 6 audio calls that you need to make prior to shutting down in the line area at Mountain Air. The first one is as you're approaching from 3 to 5 miles out. Give them a call and let them know that you're approaching to land. Number 2 is when you're overhead the airport. Let the people know that you're overhead and beginning a downwind turn. On 32, it's a right downwind. For 14, it's a left downwind. That's on purpose because the mountain's on the other side and the ground clearance is not satisfactory for approach for a left-hand pattern for 32. As you cross over the airport, you'll notice that you will see the windsocks at either end. And sometimes you'll find that the wind is from different directions at both ends of the runway. As you turn into your downwind entry for runway 32 or for 14, go ahead and prepare to drop the gear and flaps at the same time. The reason for this is it's important that you dirty the airplane up so that it's flying hands off on the downwind leg. This means the gear's down, the flaps down, you've got your trim in a neutral position where there's no stick force, and if you have cow flaps, that the cow flaps are open. When you're on downwind, then you make your next call, and that is that you're downwind with your gear down and locked. Be sure you let the pro shop know that the gear is down and locked. Now flying along, you should be able to get under control and get your speeds where they need to be so that the speed that you're flying downwind is very close to the speed that you'll have as you cross the threshold, so you can feel the stick pressures on the yoke. You notice that the airstrip is not visible from this position here because of a ridge line that actually blocks the airstrip, but you'll be able to see the end of the runway a little bit further from that to the left of where we are, and you'll see the end of 32 beginning to appear. Be sure to tell them when you're turning off of downwind onto base. And you begin your base leg. You begin your descent from 5,500 feet to be at the 90 at 5,000 feet. It's important that you fly on speed and that you get your rate of descent beginning as soon as you make your turn. If you wait until you're halfway through that turn towards the 90, then you're going to have a rapid rate of descent to get down in time to land. So be sure you start your rate of descent as you begin your base turn. As you approach the 90, watch your altimeter and watch your airspeed, and be sure that you're as close to 5,000 feet as possible as you reach the 90 position. Now the winds around Mountain Air are interesting. I mentioned earlier that the windsock at one end of the runway may be different than the windsock at the other from wind direction. This is because as the winds roll in, the different ridge lines capture the wind and cause some turbulence. You may even find that it's a little bumpy out here as you're on base. Don't let that bother you, just keep flying the airplane. If you find that the winds are greater than 10 degrees off of centerline at 10 knots, you may consider flying somewhere else to land instead of here. Now as we begin to turn on final, be sure you give them a final call. They'll need to hear that because they turn the lights on to get people off the tennis courts and away from the area that is at the approach end of 32 so that you don't have any traffic going on the cart path underneath the approach end of the runway. Continue your turn and try to roll out so that you're right on centerline. Now if you're not on centerline, then you'll have to correct back. As you notice here, as I'm making this turn, I rolled out a little bit left, and now I've got to correct back to the right a little bit to get on centerline. You see me doing that now. Okay, now I'm back on centerline. Watch your speed and be sure that you're flying a steep approach. You see the VASI off to the left? Hopefully you'll see a flashing white light. That's just the right approach angle you need to have. If it's a steady white, you'll be a little bit flat. You need to be steeper. The reason for that is in close you may get a downdraft, and you want to be sure that you're steep enough that you, with the power in the airplane, you can fly through that and land successfully. As you get in close and you know you can make the runway, then you can go ahead and reduce the power. Now be sure that you point at the numbers as you get in close so that when you fly over the numbers, you'll touch down with at least 2,000 feet remaining on your rollout. This is very, very important. If you touch down beyond the 2,000 foot remaining marker, we highly encourage that you go around and set up for another approach. As we travel on up the runway here, be sure that you stay on the center line. As you taxi clear the runway, be sure that you call them and let them know that you're clear at the pro shop. That way they'll turn the lights off and people can continue to play tennis and also golf. Just a reminder that as you approach Mountain Air, the frequency is 122.725. And you've been talking to them, they will send a lineman down to meet you as you taxi clear.
Now this is another homeowner at Mountain Air flying a Malibu. He's on again about a 3/4 of a mile final at 200 feet above when he straightened out on the center line. Here's his touchdown, well prior to the 2,000 foot remaining marker that he's passing now. And as he continues his taxi, he decelerates as he begins to taxi up the slight grade that we have in the runway.
This is Eddie Falco in his Pilatus. He's preparing for takeoff at Mountain Air, going through his final checklist and now taxiing out of the runway. He's going to demonstrate for you what a takeoff looks like with a turbine-powered aircraft at Mountain Air. They operate out of Mountain Air without any difficulty at all, whether it's a single, like the Pilatus, or a King Air, a twin turboprop. It handles the airport very well. You can see he's airborne with plenty of room. When he comes back into land, Eddie is going to be flying a steep approach. This is what we recommended. We just want to let you see what that looks like from the outside as he turns on to final here in just a minute. Now he's on to final. And you'll notice that he shows a very steep approach. We recommend this for everyone. That's because the lights are flashing white on the Bassie. And you can see he still touches down with 2,000 feet per minute.
This is Bill Marshall on final for runway 32. Now, this time he's making a low flyby. He's got the gear and flaps down, but if he's uncertain if there are people or vehicles on the runway, he's going to do a flyby down the runway to be sure that the runway is clear. Once he's comfortable that there's no one on the runway and that the runway is clear, he'll then re-enter the pattern to land.
Boy, Randy, I can't remember when I've had so much fun flying around. It's just been just gorgeous today. The vistas were beautiful, the new clubhouse was spectacular, the pool, and of course the 18 holes of championship golf. I mean, it's just marvelous. And the landing worked out well too. It really was a great flight. Thanks for coming with me.
Ken, thank you. I enjoyed it very much. It was a beautiful day, as you said. We're very proud of our community here, and you did a great job on your landing.
Well, thank you.
I hope you folks enjoyed the video. We'd love to see you here at Mountain Air Country Club soon. We developed this video to allow you to view the property prior to arrival, to give you some hints and some ideas about landing at Mountain Air. I hope it's been helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you here. Thanks.